Let's begin this morning with that new COVID variant that's quickly put the world on edge. Health officials are warning Omicron looks different from other variants, becoming the dominant strain in South Africa in just a matter of days.
But there is still a lot we don't know about the variant, including how transmissible it is and how serious infections can be. While researchers around the world are working to answer those questions, the World Health Organization says the Omicron variant poses a very high global risk and could lead to a new COVID wave. The first cases were detected in southern Africa last week, and since then, 14 countries have detected Omicron. You're looking at them on your map right now. That includes 7 countries in Europe, 3 countries in Africa, and Canada. World leaders are taking steps that they say are aimed at containing the variant by putting in place travel bans from South Africa. The passengers trying to leave that country are now stranded as borders shut down in response to Omicron. It's too early to tell whether the current vaccines will be effective in protecting against this new variant. Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson have all released statements saying they have begun testing and modifying their vaccines to fight this. But Dr. Anthony Fauci is urging everyone to get vaccinated and boosted immediately.
Even when you have variants of concern, you do well against them. It may not be as good in protecting against initial infection, but it has a very important impact on diminishing the likelihood that you're going to get a severe outcome from it. So this is a clarion call, as far as I'm concerned, of saying, let's put aside all of these differences that we have and say, if you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you're fully vaccinated, get boosted, and get the children vaccinated also.
We have a team of experts in the field to help us break down the very latest COVID variant news from every angle. We want to start this morning with NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel and the latest on what we know and also what we don't know yet about this variant. So, Dr. Patel, good morning to you. Hope you had a nice Thanksgiving with your family. What do we know so far about this variant? How concerned should we be?
Yeah, Lindsay, Savannah, good morning. This is something that raises a lot of concern, but really because of a couple of facts. Number one, there are approximately 32 mutations to that red spike protein that give it a lot more kind of opportunity to infect people, attach to people, even, and raises that possibility of what we call immunity escape. But none of that has been proven. So that mutation number alone has alarmed many officials. Fact number two, we've seen, just as you pointed out, Lindsay, an incredible number of people across the globe that seem to have pretty quickly been identified with the Omicron variant. So that speaks to a potential high transmissibility or a high infection rate, even more than Delta. And then I think what's left and what we don't know is really the important pieces. Do our current vaccines work against this? There is really no plausible way that our vaccines are rendered utterly useless against this variant. So the question is, how much of a reduction is there? And is that reduction significant enough to kind of cause more hospitalizations? And right now, the evidence doesn't point to that, but it's still early. And then I think the next question is, what can we do about it? And I think, you heard Dr. Fauci, get vaccinated. I think it's also an emphasis, something to talk about, getting boosted. Boosters can broaden your immunity and potentially kickstart your body into also developing immunity against different variants, including potentially the Omicron variant.
So, Dr. Patel, that's exactly what I want to ask you about next, is the shots, getting boosted, getting vaccinated in the first place. So obviously you just laid out all these questions that we still don't have answered. Dr. Fauci also specifically told President Biden it could take up to 2 weeks before we know more about this variant. But in the meantime, everyone is being urged to get vaccinated. And we have heard that these companies are all testing their vaccines against this new variant, potentially modifying them. So explain right now why it makes sense to go get this booster. Is there a potential, though, that the shots could change? Is it going to be a different vaccine and you're going to be boosted with something and then need something else again later? How does this work right now in this kind of in-between time before we know more?
Yeah, great question. So, Savannah, listen, I can't stress this enough. Do not wait for a, quote, modified version of a vaccine simply for the reason that could take time, and we're in a race against time. We're watching how quickly any virus is spreading. By the way, we saw this with Delta. If you recall, I think a number of us were wondering if the current vaccines would work against the Delta variant. Until we had that evidence, there were conversations around tweaking, and all manufacturers said the same thing, that they have the ability, and they do, to quickly, within weeks, Savannah, potentially turn around a new formulation. But that doesn't turn into shots in arms. We have, around any part of the country, shots in arms that are available available for people who are not vaccinated, and then for people who need boosters. And the role of the booster, just to kind of say why you need it now and why you shouldn't wait, the booster really does kickstart your body and tells your body, hey, remember that vaccine we had months ago? We want to prime and increase those antibodies, but we also want your antibodies to be a little bit smarter and develop even more antibodies that could protect you against even more variants. That's critical for now.
All right, and Dr. Patel, how much of a role does vaccine inequality play in the spread of this variant?
Yeah, very much so, Lindsay. And if you look at the African nations, that we've got approximately 2 to 10% of African nations vaccinated, that offers just an incredibly large reservoir of opportunity for variants and mutations to develop. So this is just another stark reminder that we're not out of this until we're all vaccinated at as high a rate as possible, putting pressure on many countries like the United States, not just to do travel restrictions, but to also think about how can we amp up opportunity. It's not even the supply, Lindsay. I think it's really about countries' abilities to actually deliver the vaccines into arms.
All right, Dr. Kavita Patel, thanks so much for joining us on this.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.